Hey, yeah, it's me, the lamb, talking to you. You ate one too many mushrooms. Sorry. Um, how do I explain this quickly and efficiently? It's February 19th, 2022. It's almost 6:50 p.m. And I've been there's been a lot of stuff that I've been channeling through the card readings and everything else regarding skin color. And then there's a lot of stuff that's been going on in the world for thousands of years based on skin color and location. And then there's even more people arguing on an individual basis over skin color. And then there's even more groups in societies and secrets kept by shades of skin color, and only those of that skin color or ethnic background or where they were born on the surface of a planet. And they have arguments. They fight, they complain, they nitpick, they kill each other over it. They turn it into something weird or taboo or a fetish of some kind, or they turn it into a stereotype or a financial or spiritual worth measurement thing. And then others are completely wiped out from the gene pool just because of a shade of color or a body feature. And this is people doing it to themselves while they're thinking for a tapestry. They think it's God's work, or it's the law, the class, the whatever. But it's still arguing over skin color. An entire species on one planet fighting itself, segregating each other, killing each other, shaming each other over the shade of their skin. If God made you all purple, the same shade, what would you argue about then? Hair color? Let's make all of that white as a Q-tip. Everybody has purple skin and white hair. What do you argue about then? Variations of eye color? Okay, so there's no irises at all. Just complete blank white eyes. And there's no gender. So it's just genderless, humanoid features with nostrils, ears to hear. Not even ears, that you can judge, just holes in the head, all the same size. And then a tiny slit where the mouth would be, just to make sounds. Nothing unique or special or different about any of it. What would they argue about then? The way they move, the sounds they make, the choices they make, the way they think. Okay, so let's take all that away. Let's take food away too. So it doesn't have to be about what they eat or their scent. So they're just vessels. Then what do they argue about? What they believe in. So really, no matter what you do or don't do, have or don't have, there's a virus in the mind that makes you argue over anything. And that virus only has power over you because you choose to give it that power by responding in that emotional stimulant that is released when the fight or flight is activated. So feeling that conflict, that surge of pride and ego, that this skin tone is better than that skin tone, or that being born here is better than being born there, whatever. Feeling that anger, it gives an adrenaline rush. So maybe since you're going to choose to argue over anything, maybe stop arguing over skin tone and location and instead argue why nature around you is dying. Why you're not planting flowers. Why you're cutting down trees because you think it's a good idea. Why you fight each other over anything at all to begin with. From scales to regular skin to winged creatures to whatever else there is. How absurd of any of you to argue with another creation of the creators while you play pretend in your sandboxes. I cannot fathom this mentality. How can you argue over shades of light? I've been sitting here for so long, really attempting to figure out what the fuck is wrong with people. And it's hilarious that given the obvious aware choice, having it be made clear to you in such a blunt, stupefying way is the only way to get you to snap out of this matrix construct dream you guys are in. Oh, the edge of the world is capped in ice caps. No, it's not. That's the cage keeping you in. That's the border of the sandbox. And you're all the little kids in the sandbox arguing over each other while the parents watch from outside. I find it quite amusing that it's taking me this long to recognize what this mental virus that has the human collective so tricked is. It's a literal lack of common sense and wisdom. The whole return of the goddess, the whole what's missing? Well, Sophia was missing. Life was missing. What does that mean? Common sense and the ability to learn from mistakes. Common sense. look at your species with the eyes of wisdom and with the common sense of having common sense. It's really funny that people argue over skin color. I don't care if you're black, brown, blue, sideways, rectangles, scales, electric currents, an orb. I don't care if you're a house gnome or a fairy or a dragon or an entire planet. I don't care if you're an interdimensional species. I don't fucking care. What I do care about is, are you mentally well enough to not fight and cause violence? Especially if you're around me. Do you have that common sense? And do you have enough common sense to not attack your own species? It's a violence towards the own soul when one person chooses to discriminate another person based on anything. It's not your place to do so. It's been shown to you in many, many examples, on many, 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 many occasions. And still it has to be shown to you, flat out, nearly written out for you. To think that your skin tone makes you less is a trick played on you. To think that your skin tone makes you more or better is a trick played on you as well. So those of you who have been causing these racial wars for millions of years, how funny. I see the humor in it. I'm sorry. It's the fact that people were even hurting each other over skin tone, or enslaving each other, or even hurting each other in ways that's unimaginable. How silly. It's like seeing somebody who's been possessed by the entity of stupidity to fight itself, its own family, its own species, and to allow poisonous chemical combinations to course through its body based on thoughts that create negative emotions in the body. How silly to have spent any time at all choosing to feel those feelings, especially towards other people. How silly that any life had to be lost to realize you're all children of the same creator. Creators. Fighting with each other over nothing, over a grain of sand in an eternity. And you guys are sitting there arguing. How silly. There isn't even a way to snap you guys out of it other than to point out how silly it is. Because if even one person on this planet sees all of this as complete absurdity, then maybe that ripple will find its way to you. And you'll see the complete absurdity of the human mind when it's left unchecked. How unbelievably stupid it would be for butterflies to fight each other over the color of their wings, or to wage war on caterpillars. How silly. How silly. For squirrels to cut down trees. How silly. You should be loving yourselves and each other. Just imagine the good that could have been done with your lives so far if you had just been kind to each other. Millions of years of suffering and pain and death, silent cries, all could have been undone, never even experienced, had you simply had common sense and kindness to speak the truth, to do what's right, to be kind to yourself and to others, to be gentle, to nourish the world, to rejuvenate yourself and others, to provide, to create, to beautify. But instead, you chose to argue over skin color, genitals, eye colors, locations of birth within the sandbox. But had you forgot that you entered a sandbox when you entered the sandbox, just to see what you would do. And you claimed pieces of the sandbox and started blowing each other up from every direction. And then you put a price tag on everything as if it was yours to begin with. How silly. How silly to have been duped for so long, to think your neighborhood and who you are because that's what God thinks of you. To have to struggle to get out of neighborhoods, and then to have to struggle to keep your place in neighborhoods, and then to hoard money. Mine, 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 mine. Not yours, mine. Well, okay then. But how silly. When each hand could hold the next hand and create a community, corner to corner, sky to sea, and everything in between that you cannot see. How intelligent it would be to actually support your neighbor instead of, well, you can fill in the blanks, can't you? How silly to look at someone and think what you're thinking about them is what they are. How silly to think the thoughts in your head about someone tell you the exactness of their heart. Yet, you don't recognize you're still only looking at the colors. Please stop being silly. Stop fighting each other over skin color. How silly it is. How silly.